Conscious of time. So the talk today will be talking about the AI in general, which we have been talking about for the last couple of sessions, and some other examples. They call them disruptive technologies, as Dr. Nasrallah mentioned. It's not just only AI, there are many technologies that we are using at the moment. So all of them will collaboratively push toward changing our future as they are changing our current situation. And then we are particularly looking after sustainable quality education. And that's why we are all here. So quick agenda here. We will talk about the sustainable education. What is that? And then we'll move to disruptive technology and AI. And then later on, we'll introduce our own framework that we claim that this framework will land up at the sustainable education framework or systems. So what is sustainability? Sustainability, we've been, which is the title of this conference, we've been talking about this concept for a long time now. The easiest way to refer to sustainability by talking about the detailed level is just referring to the SDG that we are all aware of. So SDG have 17 overall big ultimate goals. Some of them related to the poverty, some of them related to the equality, life in the water, etc. So under this subject, we can mention many of them. I'm going to focus on the fourth SDG, which is related to the education. Why are we focusing on that? Because we do believe, and I personally believe, in the importance of education in changing the future of our generations and changing the future of the whole world. Okay. Now, education cannot be handled or considered as a separate part from other SDGs. And this is why, for example, if you improve the education of the current generation, the equality will improve. That people will be able to, which is again, goal number 5. If we also equip our current student with large number of skills, then they will be able to get a decent work environment and they'll be able to produce a good economy for their own families and their own societies as well. So there are no clear-cut answer or clear-cut lines between these SDG in many cases, but we are going to do our best to focus on the education for the interest of this presentation. So education-wise, according to SDG, we're talking about a few things that we need to highlight here. So the sustainability increase the number of youth and adults who should be able to practice and have and own technical, vocational, and employment skills, okay? And that should lead to really good potential for them to go for a good job or even to be a good entrepreneur and change the world of the current situation to be a better world, okay? So this is number 1. The other one, which is again from the sustainability, is eliminate the gender disparities and encourage people to come to the board here with no differences between people. We're all here knowledgeable, expert. We need to contribute to help our society, regardless of the gender disparities that we have. And also at the same time, allow people with some kind of disabilities to contribute to the society. And I'm aware of many movements across the world, in even Middle East or outside Middle East, Europe, is trying to push more towards, achieving and being fair for example, people with disability in work environment. And I can see this in some achievements. Some of them I've just read about this last week about in Saudi Arabia, they call them Rawad Hammad, which is encouraging people to contribute to the society regardless the situation, the physical situation that you have. 4.7 refer to the learner that we are always aiming to equip them with knowledge and skill to promote even the sustainable development concepts. So the 17 SDGs, they are very important. They are all necessary, but in my view, maybe in a decade, possibly the number of 17 SDGs will definitely change. The priority will change because we are making good progress in that direction. So we have to adapt and make ourselves, ready to not just only to achieve the goal, but also go beyond that whenever possible. And the last one, which is part of this education overall SDG, is being inclusive when we teach our student. When we teach and I stop call about the word student, I may use the word learner, and at some point we'll use the word customer. Why customer? Because we do deliver continuous development courses where we offer also somehow lifelong learning. When I get a job, I receive my salary, I do my job, and on the side, I'm doing also some development activity to learn more and also to be aware of the last development that I could see in any environment. So, which means this is a learning journey for me. So I am, as a customer now, I learn a lot from the environment. I learn a lot from what we call the institutional behavior, institutional knowledge. Then I do believe that I need to also receive some good knowledge from that outcome while I'm doing my job, okay? And this is what we call win-win situation. I am winning because I'm increasing, developing my skill. The institution that I work for is also winning and also developing their potential to grow and improve their position in the market. Okay, where we are now, let's talk about two things that I would like to highlight in the UK context, but it can be applied in other contexts. So I will start with what we call global aspect and then local aspects. So global aspect, which I have highlighted on the left of my screen. If you look at this one, these are the SDG, we call them SDG trackers. These SDG trackers try to collect data from different countries, from different continents, different places, and try to align these data and these sources of information to make sure that we can say, yes, under education, we have somehow some data that we can measure our progress with, or sometimes we don't have the data at all, or sometimes we have moderate level of data. So if you look at the SDG tracker, I may increase the zoom in here. So if I zoom in on this part of the screen and you look at education, quality education, I know it might not be very readable on your side, but you can see three colors, whether they are green, yellow, or red. If you have red color here, that doesn't mean that you have any data. And then green, you have at least satisfied level of data, and then yellow is in between, in the middle. Now, as you can see, we are not doing great. And this is also something that we have noticed by many speakers as well today, and also in the previous. We have missing data. We have unaligned data, not very well structured data in many, many situations, regardless where we are. In the Europe, in the state, in the UK, we have so many differences, disparities between different landscapes. Locally, we're talking about strategics and strategic plan. We're talking about also, let me just try to zoom in very quickly. We're talking about strategic plan. We're talking about how people try to behave in order to improve the education or the business or the healthcare systems and so on. And under each government, you'll find their own plan, their own strategies. Some of them will be having a little gap between their own and SDG 1, or some of them will be aligned in a better way. So let's just try to move on to the next screen and talk about this in a detailed way. So the global perspective, as you can see on the screen, is talking about worldwide view of what we see here. So regardless this number, just we need to think about the 17 SDGs here that we have. Don't look at the education just by itself. Look at others as well, where we have lots of red colors here, which will stop us from getting where we need to get. So for example, if you're talking about poverty, large areas that we cannot address because a large number of them are in red, which means people with poverty, with less financial capabilities, there is a less potential for them to get a high quality education, to get high connection to the internet, and to be able to contribute to the society. So in my view, analyzing the SDG here, according to the numbers that we have, is not sufficient. We need to go back and see whatever I have, for example, in goal 12, which will impact me in goal 14 or SDG 14, it will stop me or it will make my work less effective. And this is one of the things that we do need to work together collaboratively to analyze the data and get a better understanding of this. The next one, when we talk about local perspective, and there's a reason why I'm putting this picture here, I'm gonna just give you this picture, give you a hint that there is a need for a picture here. And this picture, I'm gonna comment on this picture in a minute. Let's talk about local perspective. Here is the UK perspective. This is a plan that's developed by UK Department of Education. And this plan is just only given a very abstract view of what the UK will be doing in the next 5 years within their educational system. Okay, the plan is focused on a few points. I'll just highlight some of them. First of all, drive sustainable school improvement, create a clear and intelligent accountability, rigorous standard for curriculum, and also fair and access to the information. Fair access to the information, accessibility funding, and also access to the quality that we are looking for everyone. Okay, now, if you look at this very quickly, we can't analyze them in detail, but you can see still some of them are aligned with the SDG, but many of them are not. And if we even achieve our goals, achieve our vision here, we still have some considerable work to be done to be in a good position in the SDG. So this is another call for all the local experts to push more locally to get their governments aligned with the SDG overall challenges. Now let's talk about the education challenges from my own point of view as an expert in AI in education. So we have lots of this connectivity, and that connectivity works a lot for us in the previous years and the previous decade, but nowadays it's not. Why? Today's work, we are looking after skills rather than looking after knowledge in a very normal way. So we teach students at school, and then we teach them at universities, and then students leave universities to different places. We don't have any kind of linked record for X person, whether they are allowed to progress in their direction or not. We need to have that kind of things. And I do believe that the Dr. Nasser mentioned that in some of his points, that some of the experience are there, but we are not aware of where this is and how to document and how to approach this. Again, the stakeholders who receive our information, who receive our services, they are not receiving what we call a personalized learning experience. A personalized learning experience that means a lot for them and for their communities, okay? So it's not about learning, it's not about reading a book and putting the book in front of your desk and say, this is the knowledge. No, this is not the knowledge. The learning is something that should be very well aligned and linked with your context. I can have a very nice shelf behind me, and I can have 100 books at least behind my shelf, but that doesn't mean that I've read any of them, yeah? Why? Because having access to the information does not mean that you have the information. And with the very, very mature knowledge that we have at the moment, and with the wide access to information, accessing the information that we need becomes really, really challenging. So I need an information about how to learn to resolve or solve mathematical equation. If I look for a book, maybe 20 or 30 years ago, I will find few books. And these books are really high quality if I go for reliable sources. But nowadays, if I just search online how to resolve or solve mathematical equation, I'll find possibly more than 1 million links, okay? Which one of these millions are the best for me, the best for my level, the best for my personality, for my overall games and so on, goals and aims and so on, okay? This is the first one. The second one is about the work balance. We focus more on education. Luckily, in the UK, for example, we've seen some movement toward apprenticeship courses, toward internship, toward kind of life education work balance, where we teach students and also link our content with what we do in the market. But still, with that large number of initiatives, we still have some statistics telling us that 38 of our graduates by 2024 will not be able to meet the job skills, which is, for me, is a very, very horrific percentage. Now, if we are not able to meet the current, if I'm just graduating from university today and I can't have the access to the skills, then what's going to happen in the next couple of years? That is the future, where we are talking about almost half of the population. They are moving toward a place that they are having no idea about how to deal with. And that's the problem with the movement to AI. And I may use the word aggressive movement toward the AI, because, and I will come in a minute to the picture I've showed you, we have so many tasks that have been automated now. And even the way that we work, the way we produce the work, the way we describe the task that we deliver is no longer similar to what we have done in the past. For example, if you look at the new way or new form of economy, today's we used to get a degree, go to work, full-time job or part-time job, get the money, and then survive or develop your skill and career from there. We have a concept in the UK or possibly also across the world, the economy of gigs or gig economy, GIG, which refers to that many of us or many of our students at the moment, when they graduate, will never get a full-time job, not because they don't want to get a full-time job, but the full-time job is no longer there for many of them. It will be there for some, but it will be there only for some of them, not for all of them. Why? Because many of the work will be done by machine. Many of the work will be done by freelancing jobs, okay? And they will be contracted and they do the work that they can do in the way that they want. So I pick up work from here and there, depending on my capabilities, and then I produce that and I get that my profile, and I have that profile with me whenever I need to go for another consultancy job or another system. So in that way, future job is relying on, rather than relying on, for example, Rawad, because Rawad is a very expert in this domain. No, we have many expertise in our machine, in our systems, in our automated tool. Rawad will be only part of them. So I don't want to go more and talk about that. So very quickly, let's move on to the sustainable education to be model where we need to be. We need to give another role, a bigger role for the AI and experience. The only reason for that is we need to increase and enhance the customer experience and scale it up in the way that we want. And the reason for the pictures I've mentioned previously is because they are a real example for what we call generative AI, or we call them Gen AI. Well, you know, the generative AI, we were just asked the system to generate a picture for a very fancy classroom, and it will do that job for me without me designing that. So lots of designers will lose their job. Lots of teachers maybe will lose some part of the task that they do. But this is not to threaten people. No, this is to tell them AI will change the landscape. You need now to see how it's possible to develop your skills so you can use the capability of AI, and then you focus more on what machine cannot do. Leave the machine to do the job that they can do, and then we human will be better when we do things that machine cannot do. And this is the framework that I'm going to summarize everything with. So we'll focus more on technology, okay? And that technology should lead us to adaptive, flexible, and responsive learning environment. Some of these terminologies have been explained by my colleagues before me, so I'm not going to focus on them. We'll also look at the people where there are very valuable resources, or our HR process, human resources will completely change based on the nature of the tasks that they do, based on the nature of the skills that we also keeping them up with. The data-driven organization, we need to focus more on data. And I do believe that we have given really good interest in that, but at least now, we're not there yet. And also we need to improve the processes that we do. So if I have a technology now, and the technology is very effective, people may say, we don't want to apply it, or it doesn't work for us, or there is no way to regulate this process, so I'm not willing to apply this, because if anything wrong happen, I can't hold you accountable for this. I can't make you responsible for this. And finally, the institution itself should have what we call a long-term AI strategy, where in that strategy, they need to explain their processes, their generative AI, for example, as an example, the way they will be dealing with resources available to them, and also their goals and objective on the long run, how they deal with the dynamic and the changes nature of the work, and what is the role of the machine in their own future. Okay, there are others concerns that we need to meet, and here are some reflection for me and for other colleagues. AI is not just only the technology. AI is just only one part of the technology. We have virtual reality, which I'll explain through images at the moment. And the problem is AI now is working with virtual reality, is working with healthcare, is working with any different domain. So AI, if it's not developed well, if it's not regulated well, it could be the worst thing for our humanity. But if it's under really good control, it will generate something that we will all be proud of, like adaptive learning system, multimodal learning system, which I do personal research with the Artificial Intelligence Society for Education, which is a worldwide community that we lead research in that area. So we are proud of it. We promote it every time, but this is, again, does not allow us to close our eye on the risk that we have when we apply AI in any other domain. So the future where we're heading to, very promising future, but then again, need more work and need more concern to be liaised and handled as soon as we can. So we're heading toward immersed and highly connected world where universities may be unbundled. Unbundled mean I can maybe go to the University of Al Marifa University, take a few courses from there, and then come back to East London and take another courses, and then learn something from a Accenture company, which is a practical kind of thing, and then bundle that in under my profile and say, this is what I have at the moment and I'm ready to go for work. Okay, university would no longer look at, and I'm quite confident the next couple, not, let's just, in 10 years time, in 1 decade, the whole education system will see significant drastic changes. That's undoubted for me. There's no question about this. Now, maybe in a couple of decades, maybe someone like me would lose his job as an academic. We never know what's going to happen, but this is where we are doing. This is what we are trying to do now. Blockchain, using blockchain allow me to get a certificate here for a course that cannot be changed by anyone else. So if I use a blockchain-based system, which we have also done some research, we verify the courses using what we call a smart contract. These are all, sorry, technical terminologies. I don't want to dig deep in them, but it's just showing us the powerful of the technology that we have at the moment. And it's just only the starting point. It's not the technology in its effective form. It's just only the starting point. So if this is the impact on education, what's going to be the impact on the job and employability, which we are doing all of this education system to get our student and our graduate ready to do that. So there are some guidance here that we can maybe possibly save the time to allow people to ask question and answer. And then these are some of the places, rather than saying this is a university, it will be somehow informal learning working space where we learn, work together, achieve something, and then all of that will be under our portfolios rather than BSc in computer science, master, and PhD. I'm not saying these degrees will end, but we'll have different multiple forms of the qualification that we may hold with us while we are going to anywhere to work or maybe to develop our skill further. So some of the learning skills will be transmitted in similar environment like this. It will no longer look like a class. You move from one place to another place. And that's my conclusion. Technology, whereas AI is the core of it, is the only way for our future. That's my conclusion. And sorry for being late. I've exceeded the time with 2 minutes, but lots of things to be transferred. So I'm going to mute myself and over to you, Prof. Joseph, if you have any questions or comments. Thank you.